This week's episode of Aliens Explored is dedicated to our Explorer of the Week, Toby Fomes. Toby has signed up to our Patreon page and is enjoying the benefits of being one of our patrons. If you want to see what benefits that could accrue to you, whilst also funding us in a modest way to do what we love and which we know you love too, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Aliens Explored. Thanks once again, Toby, and enjoy the show.
Aliens Explored is a podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it? The Vatican has long been rumoured to have many magical possessions tucked away in its secret vaults, ranging from the perfectly preserved body of Jesus Christ to Satan himself. Of particular interest to us is the claim that the Vatican has evidence of ETs, or even actual living aliens, tucked away somewhere safe where they won't undermine the very foundations of Christian belief. Join us on Aliens Explored as we plunge headlong into Dan Brown Vatican conspiracy theory territory.
Welcome back, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we look at UFOs, extraterrestrials, all manner of historical and recent events. I am one of your hosts, Stu Jackson.
And I'm your other host, Neil Kelly.
And how you doing, Neil?
I'm doing very, very well, thank you. I mean, you asked me if I was ready just now and born ready. I said, no, I wasn't born ready. I wasn't born ready for anything.
Well, most of us are born kind of a blue colour, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, rather bluey rather than ready.
Not that I've experienced this firsthand. I mean, being born, obviously I did, but I don't remember it.
Don't have much memory of it. No.
Yeah.
There are people who claim to remember being born, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm sceptical.
Or they've been taken. But it's Church of Scientology? Can they take you back to that kind of memory, recovered? Actually, that's dodgy territory, isn't it? Recovered memory.
We have talked about both recovered memories and Scientology here on the podcast.
We have, yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to change the subject there very rapidly for no reason. Your T-shirt. I want to talk to you about your now. Our listeners obviously can't see your T-shirt, but that's a T-shirt from the Cinema Museum, is it not?
It is. It is the Cinema Museum in Kennington in South London. It's in the old workhouse where Charlie Chaplin spent some time as an inmate as a small child.
As an inmate?
It was the workhouse. You know.
Oh, right, yes.
It was the workhouse, yeah.
Yes.
You impoverished people were sent there to labour and in return for food and shelter. But now it's this wonderful museum and it's got all these projectors. It's got all these sort of posters up everywhere, but it's also got screening rooms. It's the main sort of hall where they will project films, sometimes silent films with a live piano accompaniment, and they've got a little sort of mock-up 1950s flea pit cinema.
Well, you might get a flea bit in the flea pit.
Yeah, well, you might get a flea bit in there. Yeah, and had some wonderful experiences there. There was during that time we went and
well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to mention it. Yeah, I remember us going and seeing the now I forget which movie it was. It was the horror movie, wasn't it?
It was the Cat and the Canary, a 1928 version. But what really moved me was before that, there was a little presentation by these two guys about Felix the cat, the cartoon cat who started life in about 1919, was very sort of Charlie Chaplin-esque, and they mentioned the kind of merchandise that was on sale to accompany for fans of Felix the cat, and one of the pieces of merchandise was this piece of sheet music for a song called Felix Kept on Walking. And it just happened that, was it the daughter or granddaughter of the person who composed that music?
The
granddaughter, who was quite an old lady, wasn't she? She was in her 80s, I would say.
Yeah.
She happened to be there in the audience. She didn't know this was coming. I think her friends had brought her along. She'd never heard this song. But there were a couple of musical historians there, and they performed it for her. The guy who was going to play the piano for the Cat and the Canary played the music, and this nice lady sang the words. So she'd never heard this song that her father composed. Very moving. But that's the kind of thing they do in the Cinema Museum. Well worth a trip if you're in South London.
They need lots of support.
They do need lots of support. They had a tough time during the pandemic. They made it through. We don't have a government that's particularly friendly or sympathetic to this kind of cause.
Oh, the arts in general.
The arts in general, or even an understanding of it.
Well, we have an arts and culture minister or a culture minister, but unless it's football, they really don't care. That would be soccer for our American friends.
Yeah.
They're just not interested. They make some like, oh, isn't it great that the theatres are back open?
They like to bathe
don't
in
actually
reflective
give any
glory.
support.
They like to be seen at the opera.
Yeah,
It's
like when you get the MPs, the members of Parliament, being photographed outside food banks. It's like, well, you're the people who've caused this to be needed. And of course, they're self-funded, the food banks. It's not like they get any help from the government.
No. Our culture secretary does nothing but make a fool of herself every time she opens her mouth. There was a quip recently that for someone who's so keen on privatisation, she's been more publicly owned than any other minister.
Oh dear. Anyway, politics is probably not a good topic for us to get into. Otherwise, we won't end up talking about anything else for the next half hour.
Let's get onto the much safer ground of religion.
Well, it's not specifically about religion in general, is it, that we're talking?
It's a particular church we're going to have a pop at today.
It is. It is, the church to end all churches, I suppose. The tax status in question, Vatican.
Yes.
Now, this is not Vatican City, but rather the Vatican itself.
Aren't they one and the same? Isn't the Vatican... I mean, I know Vatican City is actually a country, isn't it? It has a seat. It has a seat at the UN. The Pope is a head of state.
Yes. I thought you've got the Vatican building, which is in Vatican City.
But Vatican City isn't very big. It's inside Rome.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the middle of Rome, but it's a country.
Yeah.
And that's why, for our American listeners, it's often a problem if you have a president who is a Catholic, because basically you don't want your president to be told what to do by the head of another state. And on certain issues, if you've got a Catholic president, he's going to listen to what the Pope has to say about it.
Well, he's supposed to.
He's supposed
Certainly.
to. So, like the Kennedys, they kind of have to play down their Catholicism a bit. It can be a bit... So the Pope, an immensely powerful man.
It's very important that the American presidents are seen to be Christian, though.
Yes.
That's very important.
Very important.
Can't have any atheists.
But not beholden to another head of state.
Yeah, it's all very complicated. That's why we don't ever discuss politics.
Especially the head of perhaps one of the smallest states in the world.
Yes. But... deep inside the Vatican, I'm going to just change that subject.
Yes. We're going to digress a lot on this one, I can tell.
Basically, the Vatican is a massive warehouse for a lot of artifacts and relics from history from throughout Catholicism. That's well known.
But unlike a museum, we're not allowed to go in and see them.
Well, no, there are some public libraries and areas that people can go, but there are some things where they're kept maybe for safety, possibly for secrecy as well. Now the trouble with the secrecy side is it's secret, so we can't be absolutely sure. And in fact, I'm going to make a declaration: almost everything we're going to discuss today is rumours.
Yes.
It's unverifiable. Except for one thing.
Unlike our normal podcast.
Yes, but you've got witnesses, you've got dates, times, things like that. This is a little bit less. But there is actually one artifact, which I won't come on to just yet, that is absolutely real. And the Vatican has confirmed it is real. But we will come on to that in a little bit. Now, Neil, when I said we were going to discuss like ancient devices, artifacts, relics, UFO technology hidden in the Vatican, well, first of all, I want to know, what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, my initial reaction was, we're getting into serious Dan Brown territory here, the secrets of the Vatican, the Knights Templar, the legends, the Illuminati, and all this. And there are all sorts of things rumoured to be hidden in the bowels of the Vatican, including the perfectly preserved and undecayed body of Christ, and Satan himself.
Yes,
locked in a cage down there somewhere.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So, but where our interest was piqued was with that possibly they have evidence of aliens hidden down there.
What I'm hearing from that is that your initial reaction was, it's a load of bollocks. Or is that too extreme?
I find the idea of aliens and the Vatican that don't go together very well. I mean, there's this claim that some skulls with elongated heads and small faces, who look just like the skulls of greys, were found underneath the Vatican.
Yes, they were in 1998.
Some believe that the Vatican has more direct evidence of aliens. Well, here's my problem. I mean, the Vatican, excuse me to our Christian listeners, the Vatican is still, I think, a very medieval institution. And to give you, what I was as an illustration is the case of Galileo. Galileo, who first observed, who produced his theory, very, very strongly supported theory, back in the 1600s, early 1600s, that the Earth was not the centre of the universe, and the Earth actually revolves around the sun and not the other way round. So in 1633, the Inquisition, the famous Spanish Inquisition, but the Vatican Inquisition, forced him to recant. They said, I mean, he's rumoured to, as he left the courtroom, to say, well, yeah, all the same, he didn't really recant, but basically that it was a matter of doctrine in the Catholic Church that the Earth was the centre of the universe and everything else revolves around it. And it was only in 1992, it was Pope John Paul II who set up an academy in 1979, but it was only and they cogitated on all this stuff, and eventually in 1992, Pope John Paul II officially declared that Galileo was right and that there had been some problems with the case presented by the Inquisition back in 1633. So am I right in thinking that it was Catholic doctrine until 1992 that the Earth was the centre of the universe and everything revolved around it?
Yes.
They still... So if you're a Catholic, you believe that the sun goes around the Earth and not the other way around.
I mean, bear in mind, one of the things with religion is that they might talk in a metaphysical sense or even a metaphorical one.
But
so,
no,
so like basically the universe revolves around the Earth. They could argue, yes, but we were talking metaphorically that, basically like this is the centre of God's creation, or...
Well, in terms of physical movement, no, they're absolutely wrong. But in terms of, do you know where the centre of the universe is?
No idea.
It's right here.
Is it?
It's right here where I am, or it's right here where you are. Yeah, because that's the nature of the universe. That wherever you are, you're at the centre of the universe. I saw that on QI. That's a bigger question.
The whole fact that the universe is expanding,
yeah,
and will one day contract, kind of puts that
But
Anyway,
if you could travel and you could never get to the end of the universe because you'd end up back where you started.
Oh, because it's a donut shape.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
whatever shape it is.
That's digressing quite a bit into some very deep physics.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
what I'm saying is that
let's come back on to one of the things you mentioned. So these alien skulls that were discovered in 1998. Like you said, they've got these elongated heads. They've got these small faces to them. What explanation would you give for them? Now, bear in mind, they were shown, they were presented, and then everyone goes, oh, look, it's aliens. And the Vatican went, right, you're not seeing them again. And they've hidden them away, and nobody's ever seen them since.
Well, I'm looking at this picture of a bishop holding up some sort of tray, or it looks like it might be a book, with a skull on top of it.
Okay.
And it's a very unusual looking skull. What's striking about it is the eye sockets are huge.
Okay.
But
so we're not talking about one of these tribes where they bind their heads to elongate them, because that's a thing.
Well, it doesn't really look like an elongated skull. It's just like a skull with very, very big eyes, very big eye sockets. So I don't know. I mean, it's intact. It's got. It's not the shape of a normal human skull. I don't know what it is. I mean, would they release them for examination?
Nope. Because they produced them, people went, oh, it looks like aliens, and the Vatican literally put them away again and say, right, you're not seeing them ever again.
The caption underneath the photo says, why they would keep aliens a secret and why such aliens would be living in the Vatican's secret archive of all places is unknown. So what are what would... I don't understand.
The Vatican... So the Catholic Church is one of the richest institutions in the world.
Yeah.
And they're also and all due respect to, our Catholic and Christian listeners, they have historically always been about power and control.
That's no argument from me there.
No, I didn't think there would be. That's about knowledge. And here's the thing. They may be the people sort of controlling the flow of knowledge about UFOs.
Oh, we're getting deep
for reasons of we are
Dan Brown territory here. But what I don't get was why would they, if they've got this skull or evidence of an alien, why they would let us have a quick peek at it and say, look what we've got, and then hide it away. And, well, can we have another look at it?
Well,
no, we've hidden it in our secret archive.
It's theoretically possible that the people who discovered it didn't know what it was.
And just sort of went off piste and showed it to everyone.
It's interesting.
Look what we found.
Oh shit, they've identified it. Get rid of that. That's my theory anyway. Lots of other theories exist. Anyway, there are other things I want us to discuss. Mm-hmm. So there's rumours that the Vatican has the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you aware of the UFO connection with the Ark of the Covenant?
No, I'm only from the Tomb Raider, not Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones movies, yeah.
Well, yeah, they've got it right in a sense that the Ark of the Covenant was supposed to be a communication device with God. There are also,
but it's a box, isn't it? It's a trunk.
It's a large box. I think the dimensions are even given in sections of the Bible. Although the Bible, as we know it today, was only written 600 years ago. Let's not forget.
Yeah, in the movie, it's about the size of a chest freezer, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Not one that Indy gets into to survive a nuclear blast. But there are also reports historically that the Ark of the Covenant itself is very highly radioactive. It was used as a weapon to wipe out entire cities. And there are many theories that it is, in fact, alien technology. Now, whether this is alien technology that we discovered and didn't understand, whether it's alien technology that was given to a set of people for use against their enemies or for protection, is really hard to gauge. But quite often throughout ufology, like looking at historical events, the Ark of the Covenant does crop up time and time again. So the fact that there's rumours of it in the Vatican, in the catacombs, yeah, that's I find that quite compelling.
Really? No, I don't.
Well, likewise, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Now, we think of the Holy Grail as this cup that you put water in and it gives you everlasting life. What if it is some sort of medical technological device?
Well, there's a book, isn't there? Holy, is it? I forgot. Holy Blood, Holy something. But it's basically, the argument is when they say Holy Grail, is that the right translation? Are they saying that the San Grail, the Holy Grail, or the Sang Real, the Holy Blood?
That's Dan Brown again.
Is it Dan Brown?
That was in
okay.
the Da Vinci Code.
No,
yes.
it was Holy Blood or Holy. There was a book that came out in the 80s that pondered that question, that maybe when people are talking about the Holy Grail, what they're actually talking about is some kind of holy bloodline. But then Dan Brown picked that up from one of his books.
He definitely did. That was in the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, no, I'm going to suggest that what we're talking about is a device. Now, bear in mind that what we do as humans is, if we see something that we don't understand, we ascribe things we do understand to it. So if it looks like a cup, or if it is a vessel of some description that you put liquid in for the patient, the recipient, to then take, that sounds like a grail. That sounds like a cup or a chalice or whatever you want to call it. And that's what we would then ascribe to it. So I just think that's... I wouldn't put it past that's alien technology.
I'll tell you something I know about relics. Back in the 1500s, the time of Henry VIII, when when he was married to Anne Boleyn, and he decided to dissolve the monasteries. He'd had his split with Rome. He was going to get rid of the monasteries, had them all knocked down, and he found all these relics, and of course knocked down this monastery. And there was a relic, and it was the hand of the penitent sinner. It was basically this mummified hand nailed to a bit of wood.
Okay,
and it's meant to be the hand of the penitent sinner from Calvary, from the crucifixion. And then knocked down another monastery and found another one, and then another one, and then another. They found about a dozen of them. And all these other relics, they just found loads and loads and loads of them. So the Catholic Church, maybe not the Vatican, probably the Vatican itself, but certainly the Catholic Church has form for faking these things, claiming these things are real. Do you know the Inquisition, right? The Inquisition who forced Galileo to recant. Do you know that the Inquisition still exists to this day?
Yes.
And I think it's about one bloke. They severely reduced the workforce, and it's this guy whose job it is, whenever anyone reports a miracle, he has to go and investigate it. And I think there's rich ground for comedy here about this story about this guy who's old and tired. He's never actually seen anything miraculous in his life. He's just got back from a trek to the deepest jungles of Brazil because someone saw the Virgin Mary there, and then he's just got home. He's hardly got his shoes off, and he gets a phone call that says, "Sorry, you've got to go out to the Philippines because somebody's statue, someone's cross, statue of Christ on the cross has started bleeding again. So you go, oh, for fuck's sake, off to the other side of the world." Yeah. I imagine that's what he does.
And everywhere he goes, he turns up unexpectedly because nobody expects this. Anyway.
I hope he is Spanish. But
right.
He's never seen a miracle. He's just seen all these fakeries, or just travelled thousands of miles to hear some wild tale told by someone with clear mental health issues. That's my view of things. It's a dim view.
There is more things in heaven and earth. and all that, there are a lot of strange and mysterious things that go on, and I've seen a lot of miracles reported that defy explanation. Absolutely. Anyway, there are two more things I want to discuss as artifacts that are rumoured to be beneath the Vatican. Have you heard of the chronovisor?
Yes. Yes.
Now, this is a set of glasses that use electromagnetic radiation to enable the wearer to see into the past.
Yes.
Now, there are numerous reports from religious people, like fathers here and there, of reports who have claimed to have seen historical events using these glasses.
A Father Francois Brune, in his book Le Nouveau Mystère du Vatican, the chronovisor, it uses electromagnetic radiation left over from past events. He claimed to have witnessed historical events such as the crucifixion of Christ and a performance of the lost tragedy Thyestes.
Yeah. Now, Father Brune is the one who claims to have created them, I believe.
Father Brune claims that the device was rumoured to have been created and owned by the Vatican. Well, it doesn't say who created it, it just says owned by the Vatican. But then it was dismantled because it would be too powerful for any one person.
I'm going to say something like that, especially like the age of it, which we're talking, it's got to be alien technology. It's got to be alien technology for that level.
It actually says this device was theoretically built by the world's greatest scientists in the 1950s.
I'm going to say it's alien technology.
Okay.
Definitely. And
what was the other
thing I wanted to talk to you about. Now, this is absolutely a real item. The Vatican acknowledges it is real. However, they won't allow anybody to look at it.
Of course.
It is a book called The Grand Grimoire. Now, the Grand Grimoire is a book, allegedly, of various magical spells and summoning rituals and instructions for making magical devices. I'm going to say it's an alien tech manual.
There are all sorts of things in the Grand Grimoire. I mean, it's an alleged medieval book written in the 16th century by Honorius of Thebes, who claimed to be possessed by the devil himself. It offers instructions on how to summon up the devil, and apparently there are copies of it, but the copies don't work. The copies aren't magical.
Right. So here's my take on this. And it comes back to the old Arthur C. Clarke quote that any technology advanced enough would appear like magic to...
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know...
that's pretty much the definition of magic, isn't it? It's technology that we don't understand.
Exactly. So you go back to medieval times, you've got perhaps an extraterrestrial communicating telepathically, could very easily seem to be someone being possessed by the devil. They write this book full of lots of different technical ways of doing things that would seem magical. Yeah, I think the Grand Grimoire, and they talk about copies, but who's to say they've copied it accurately?
Well, there's the story of the first balloon flight, isn't there? By who were the French brothers who they flew in this balloon. It was a very simple balloon. It was just heated from a fire on the ground, and then it just sort of took off and flew a short distance. And when they landed, they were set upon by peasants who believed that they were witches or that they were demons. Because what they saw, they'd never heard of the Montgolfier brothers.
Montgolfier, yeah.
That they were dealing in black magic. They discovered the power of flight and. Yeah. So any new technology, especially when seen by, you can imagine, You imagine what it's like if you're a primitive tribesman living in a jungle and suddenly you come face to face with basically you're living in the Stone Age and you suddenly come face to face with 21st century technology. It must be terrifying.
Exactly. So that is my take on the Grand Grimoire.
Okay.
It's an alien tech manual. So come on, tell me how bonkers I am for all this stuff.
I think the Vatican, as you say, is one of the wealthiest it's the wealthiest church in the world, isn't it? A very wealthy organisation, and their wealth and their power, although much diminished now compared to when churches did run the world,
unless they're wielding power behind the scenes, which wealth allows.
Which, but it's obviously with their wealth they can influence, but in previous times they could influence by claiming to speak with the voice of God, and that they would have been believed.
Yes,
and a lot of their power comes from mystery. So it's in their interest to claim to have all these things hidden away that we've actually got evidence that the Bible's true, but we can't show it to you because it's cursed or whatever reason. Their followers may or may not believe it. They're probably inclined to believe it, but I don't. Yeah,
some who do, some who don't.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
As I say, they thrive on this mystery. I mean, there was even a big schism in the church, wasn't there, about whether to perform the mass in Latin or in whatever language people was, English or Spanish or whatever they were speaking. And the argument for the Latin mass was that basically we want people to come to church and they will hear this incantation that they can't understand. And the fact that they can't understand it makes it seem more magical to them. That was the argument for keeping it in Latin. There's nothing particularly holy about the Latin language, but what I think is in the hidden in the Vatican is nothing. I don't think they've got anything at all. If we're playing poker, I'd say you nothing. Yeah, as Cool Hand Luke once said, sometimes nothing is a real cool hand. It's that the secret archive is actually a mistranslation. That in the original Latin, the word secretum doesn't mean secret; it means personal. So if you suddenly say, "Well, it's the Vatican's personal archive," that's a lot less interesting, isn't it?
Well, there is a secret archive in that they have archives that they do not let people in. That's not a. The fact it exists is not a secret.
But that would also apply to personal, wasn't it? I mean, there's things I've got that I wouldn't show people because it's personal.
Absolutely.
We've all got not all got our secrets. If you've nothing to hide, you've nothing to fear. Well, whoever says that, tell them to take all their clothes off them. What have you got to hide? Come on, then.
Let's not tempt people. But
so my challenge to the Vatican, and I'm saying I'm going public now. I can hold my tongue no longer. If you've got all this stuff, let's have a look. Show it to us, and then I will believe. You'll convert me.
Well, a lot of it, of course, is not being claimed by the Vatican itself. So we will see. But let us know.
But the Vatican hasn't denied. Has the Vatican denied it? Have they said no? We've got nothing like that.
Sometimes, yeah.
A pair of glasses that you can look into the past. No, we've got nothing like that. That sounds a bit fanciful to me.
No,
the devil himself locked in a cage. No, we've not got him.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think, listeners, about the Vatican and whether these ancient devices, these relics, this UFO evidence is in fact down there or not. Am I just barking mad, as Neil would have us believe? You can let us know via the usual means. You can email us aliensexplored@gmail. Let me try that again. aliensexplored@gmail.com. You can contact us on Facebook and currently Twitter by searching Aliens Explored. I'm saying currently, with Twitter's new ownership, I'm really considering taking everything off Twitter at the moment.
Okay.
that's a whole other discussion. But at the moment, we're on Twitter. You can find us on Aliens Explored, and definitely on Facebook. And of course, if you are one of our special Patreon members, you get exclusive access to our Discord server, which is definitely not going anywhere. And on our Discord, you can chat with us, you can chat with other like-minded listeners about this episode, about all our episodes, and anything to do with ufology. You can join our Patreon by going to patreon.com/Aliens Explored, where you can get all sorts of fancy things as well as the Discord access. You can get fancy t-shirts, not of the Cinema Museum, like Neil is sporting, but of Aliens Explored. You get t-shirts, you get chances to chat with us, you get all sorts of things. Go along and have a look. There's kind of something for everyone in there, isn't there, Neil?
There really is.
And speaking of magical things, as we have done in this episode, you want to make sure you join us next time, because we will have a very special guest talking to us. Brittany Dodson of the Be Magical podcast will be joining us to talk about the similarities and connections between ufology and the magical world. Definitely be looking forward to that one.
Yep, I'm really looking forward to speaking with you, Brittany. It's going to be a fun show.
It definitely is. So make sure you're listening to that one. In the meantime, keep watching Secret Archives everywhere and the skies. Take care for now.
Catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Aliens Explored is a Fiegel Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.